So today we're going to take the questions as they come, and we're going to explore them and see how they work. And you can take the answers. And the thing that I talk about all the time is don't believe what I say. You have to discern what is right for you. You have to discern how does it fit your life, okay? So the first question we're going to look at today is, what is karma? Karma is something very simple. Karma is the law of attraction working. It's the law of cause and effect. It's the law of giving and receiving. In other words, what you put out, you get back to you. So the way I'll break it down is it's not maybe what you're consciously putting out in every moment, but what it is that you have a mental atmosphere. Your mental atmosphere is the sum total of all the thoughts, words, actions, and feelings that you have consciously or unconsciously done in your life up to this point. That makes up your mental atmosphere. That atmosphere attracts to you and repels from you. A lot of times people like to talk about the karma from prior lives. In religious science, we don't have an opinion about that. We don't have an opinion about that. I don't know that we bring all that stuff forward. I don't know that. That's someone's idea of a possibility. But here's what I do know. And it goes with little children. Because a lot of times people say, why do things happen with little children? What I've come to understand is the second the child goes into the womb of the mother, the child is encapsulated in the mother's energy. So whatever is going on in the mother's life, all of her interactions, that energy is absorbed into that child, and the child comes out with a thought process already assimilated within it. Am I making sense? So there's an energy transfer to the child. And that child energy starts to attract to it. So children also, why is it that children that are brought up in the Rockefeller family or the Kennedy family, why is it they're always wealthy? Because from the time they were conceived, the whole mental atmosphere of everything that they had was they will be wealthy. So it's a natural. Why is it that people are born in the Polish ghetto? They come out as Polish ghetto people. Because that's what they were brought up with. Now what happens is we come to a point, and normally almost everything that we believe happens to us by the time we're 7 years of age. And at 7 years of age, you're not really thinking about what you've consciously chosen. So after 7, we start rebelling and we start hopefully thinking for ourselves and start formulating a different mental atmosphere which can change the atmosphere, which has changed the karma. So karma is simply the law of cause and effect working. We say we're a part of New Thought movement. What does it mean other than not teaching based on the Bible? Okay. New Thought movement is simply this. We believe that everything in your life can change with the beginning of a new thought. It's just that simple. You take a new thought, something different than you've ever thought before, and you start building on that thought. That's going to do what? It's going to change your mental atmosphere. And as you change your mental atmosphere, you change your experience. Now, we here at Agape, we don't focus a lot on the Bible, but Ernest Holmes, when he wrote The Science of Mind, 1/3 of the book is based on the metaphysical interpretation of the Bible, which is part of the New Thought movement, is heavily biblical based. Here at Agape, the biblical base that I use some of the teachings of Jesus, but that's all I use. There's so many other great writers. There's the Hindu tradition, the Buddhist tradition. There's the psychology, the philosophy traditions. I like to incorporate the modern interpretations of things that are more practical and relevant than studying ancient history. Does that make sense? So the Bible has great truth in it. Is the Bible total truth? That's up for you to decide. But I'll share this with you. When you look at the Bible today, realize there are 3,200 and some approved versions of the Bible that you can buy. 3,200 and some versions. Which one's right? Over the course of 2,000 years, that Bible's been translated from one language to another over and over again. You ever done the thing where we get started at the end of a row and you say something to that person? How does it get there? Realize that the Bible, when it was written about the New Testament, the first book of the New Testament was written 30 years after Jesus lived. John, the last book of the New Testament, was written 100 years after Jesus lived. No one that wrote about Jesus ever met Jesus. You judge for yourself what you want to look at and what you want to believe. What I like to do is I like to take the Bible, and Jesus said this. I'll use a little Bible right now. Jesus said, "It is done unto you as you believe." He gave us the key to creating our lives. How do you create a belief? A belief is your thoughts, words, actions, and feelings aligned toward a specific result, held persistently and consistently. That's a belief. If you do that, you will create that. So he gave us the teaching. Jesus never said, "Worship me." Jesus said, "I am the way." What does he mean when he said, "I am the way"? Follow what I teach. See if it works for you. It is not him that he said, "I didn't do the work." The Father in me, the power within me did the work. So he was a Jew. He wasn't a Christian. He never started a religion. He came here so the Jews and the Gentiles could have life more abundantly, because that's what he said. You talk about daily spiritual practice. What does that look like, and how do I develop my own? Spiritual practice is something that's personal to every individual. And at Agape, we teach a lot of different practices. The first and most important practice we talk about is always meditation. No matter what spiritual faith you're in, meditation is the number one practice that should be incorporated into your day. Why? The benefits are renowned. There's mental benefits, there's stress benefits, there's health benefits. There's just so many benefits of clearing your mind. And ideally, I would say to you that if you have an ultimate practice in my mind, you're meditating twice a day. First in the morning for 20 minutes, and then late in the afternoon, early evening for 20 minutes. I would love to see everyone get to a point where they're sitting in silent meditation. But until you get there, start lower, do guided meditations, do whatever type of meditation that allows you to be still. That's step one. Step two is you've got to find a way to start to reprogram your subconscious mind. You can do that with what we call affirmative prayer spiritual mind treatment. In other words, we're treating the mind to be what we want it to be, to understand that the power in us is that. Or you could also do affirmations where you say, "I know infinite wisdom guides and directs my every thought, word, and action." And you do, what are you doing? You're implanting that thought into the subconscious mind, and then what happens when you get into a crisis situation immediately pops into your mind, "Oh, the infinite wisdom's within me. I'm going to pause for a second, ask the question, allow that wisdom to come out." There's the practice of gratitude. Gratitude is the greatest of all prayers. What you're grateful for, you will attract more of. There's a practice of forgiveness. In other words, seeing life in balance. That's what forgiveness is. Realizing in any time, any place, forgiveness is seeing the yin and the yang and seeing they balance each other out. When you balance it out, there's no more emotional charge. So if there's something in your life you got to forgive, and when you think about it, your butt just puckers, you got forgiveness work to do because you've got an emotional charge. The emotional charge says that that event and that person owns you. Do you get that? You're not free until you've done the forgiveness work. There's visualization. There's the idea that you visualize what you want. You start to become the man and the woman. And then what you do is you find a way to incorporate all these into your practice. I would highly suggest that your practice should be about an hour a day. 2 meditations. And then you do your affirmations, your prayer work, or that. If you want more, this is what we teach in our classes. What happens to our spirit when we die? God only knows. Who's got that answer? You could think, what I believe is that I believe that I'm an individualization of God. Meaning that I have a physical body, I have this mind, this ego, and that while I'm in the planet, in this physical body, those are serving me. But I know more than that. So that part of me that I know that that's more than my body and mind, I'll call that the soul for purposes of us talking. I believe that soul aspect lives for eternally. What happens when I die and shed this body, I have no idea. Is there reincarnation? I don't know. It matters. I think the key thing is find out who you are, what juices you, and live fully and completely to that. John T. Martini shared a story when he was at an airport. A friend of his was telling him how amazing he was. D. Martini began to get real proud and full of himself. He then spills fresh carrot juice all over himself in a brand new suit. He explains because he was proud, life had to bring him back to balance, the juice. Any thoughts on this? Is this what balance is? I don't have any carrot juice, so I can't prove that right now. But the fact of the matter is, do I believe that life is always in balance? Yes. I think being in balance, no matter, it's not about something happening to you to be in balance. It's about us awakening our awareness to realize that in any moment we are supported and challenged equally. Do you get that? In any moment, when my mother died, and I lost the woman who was the woman who raised me, who I loved more than anything, when she died, in that moment, how was I supported equally by her loss? And you have to focus on that. The second you can see that the balance is equal in that moment, the grief disappears. The hurt disappears. We only hurt when we don't see balance. We feel we've lost something. The fact of the matter is, everything in life is always in balance. If you have a battery, you've got a positive and negative charge. You cut the battery in half, you still have a positive and negative charge on everything. The universe is that way. It has a positive and a negative all the time. We just don't see it, therefore we don't see the balance. So do I believe it's in balance? Yes. Did I disagree with John D. Martini for years about this? Yes. Did I have to prove that he was right? Yes. Prove it for yourself. People lie to themselves continuously. Can you speak to the effect that has on our emotional body? Whew. When you tell a lie, you create a mental atmosphere. When you create a mental atmosphere, you create a law of attraction going on, don't you? So one of the things that happens in, it was a couple years ago that someone did something, I felt someone did something to me that really ticked me off. It had my emotion, my Sicilian came out. I was really emotional about it. And I was in a state, and my wife looked at me. And she says, what do you teach, Lee? And I said, go on. And she says, you teach that the law is always working. Do you get that? Law of cause and effect is always working. So what that means, when someone is doing something to you, don't worry about it. Protect yourself, move out. You don't have to worry about them getting what they're got due. They're going to get it. You just know the law is always working. Whatever someone's putting out will come back. And if someone's mean-spirited, someone's conniving, someone's cheating, you know the law is going to bring back to them that which they are. So you can let go of your attachment to what other people are going to get. That was very freeing. I'm grateful for my wife. Sometimes. I don't feel it's wrong to pat and a hug. I'm installing partner love. Am I going to hell? No, if you pat someone on the back when you hug them, you're not going to hell. What is the first step in setting up a good spiritual practice? Start meditating. No other way to set that. Just start today. There's so many apps out there that you can do. Go to my YouTube channel, Lee Wolak, W-O-L-A-K. And there are guided meditations there. Just pick one, start listening. It's the simplest way to begin. But to begin, you got to do something. You can't think about it. I think I'll begin. I'll talk about beginning. I think let's form a group and talk about beginning to meditate. No, you just sit down and you do it. Okay? Projecting into the future 10 years from now, once we have a perfect and practical and practice these new thought techniques, talk about life incrementally flowing. Interdimensionally flowing. Interdimensional. Whew. We start practicing. When I became a minister, I'll use that as an example. When I became a minister, and I went through ministerial school, and I spent 3 years studying 8 to 10 hours a day, practicing. I was an assistant minister at CSL Dallas. When I became a minister and started Agape, I thought I knew it all. I thought I was the cat's meow. And you know what happened? The balance hit me in the side of the head. You got challenged because here's the thing. Doing the spiritual practices every day, 2 to 3 hours every day I do spiritual practice, minimum for me. 2 to 3 hours every day. I thought I had it all. The ego is always there, so you keep doing the practice. You never stop doing the practice because the ego will come in. Why? Because we are bombarded all day, every day by outside forces, right? Television, CNN, Fox News, whatever you want to listen to. The newspapers are bombarding you. Radio stations are bombarding you. Your friends are bombarding you. The politicians are bombarding you. Your wife, your husband, your grandparents, your children, everyone's bombarding you. And when they bombarding you, are they telling you you're whole, perfect, and complete? I think not. So who has to tell you that? You do. You have to constantly be the force that reminds you of your truth. And so do you ever outgrow your spiritual practice? I don't think so. What happens is the more you practice, the greater the challenge emerges for you to become even a greater individualized expression of what you want. Do you get that? You have a greater challenge always coming because you have to be challenged to expand. And if you're not expanding, you're dying. There's no other way to say that. People who retire that don't have a new thing in life, they die within 5 years. Science shows it because they don't have anything where they're being creative. Our job is to be creative. If personal wealth is not a top value, should we be made to feel bad for not having $2 million in savings, investment, insurance? You shouldn't be made to feel bad. If you're feeling bad, that's your choice. Because no one can make you feel bad but yourself. I use the example all the time when I'm teaching the values workshop that if wealth is not one of your top 5 values, you will not be wealthy. Because you're not making your decisions based on accumulating wealth. A lot of people, money doesn't mean anything to them. That's great. Live like that. But I will say to you, wouldn't it be nice if you had enough money that you were comfortable enough to do what you wanted to do so that you could give your gift to the world in your unique way? And then what you have to discern is how much money is that? So when I said $2 million, and I've said that before, $2 million at 5% equals how much? $100,000. Could you be comfortable enough at $100,000 to live the life you want, to give the gift you want in the world today without ever worrying? For me, $100,000, that's a good life. That's why I use it. But if you feel uncomfortable with it, then you've got to look at your issue with money because you're not seeing money as energy. And that's all it is. We've been brought up with these false ideas that money's evil. No, money's not evil. What you do with it or your attachment to money that causes you the problems. But money itself is just an exchange of energy. The more good you bring into the world, the more service you provide others, naturally more money must come to you because there has to be an equal exchange of energy. If there's not an equal exchange of energy, then you're not functioning within the law that's circulating all the time. So money is an important thing to come to build a peace with. How can we support you as a community? Give me a lot of money. No. No. To support me is to show up, be authentic, be real, question everything I say, practice for yourself, create your greatest life, and that's the greatest gift I can receive. And when you do that, the whole community benefits, not just Lee. Have you had a Kundalini experience? What do you think about that? Yes, I have. Kundalini simply means awakening the energy, the sacred energy within you. And in the Eastern tradition, they talk about the various chakras, the 7 chakras that we have going down, and that sometimes we block the energy flow there. So I think it's been 2.5 years now I've been doing a practice called Trividya. That's my main meditation practice. It's allowing the divine feminine within me to awaken and to clear all of my chakras so that the energy flows easily to me. Have I noticed a difference? Tremendous difference. I understand that there's a way now. I learned this practice from an Indian teacher by the name of Guruji Premananandaji. Premananandaji is the gentleman that I studied with in India and I learned this from. And then I was talking with my spiritual friend Niranjan the other day, and our plan is to go back, I think now in July we're looking at, to go back to India, and Premanandaji is taking those individuals who have done the practice level where we're at. I'm at level 7 in that practice, so he says if you've been doing that for over a year, he'll take you to the next level. And it's not that he takes you to the next level. He gives you a practice that you use in your mind, and if you believe that that practice will work, it will work. Do you get what I'm saying? I've done a lot of practices from a lot of gurus. Trividya is the one that has worked for me because I realize I have a very intellectual side, and I realized I wanted to balance and get my feminine side out. So I sought out what form of meditation, what form of practice would allow me to bring that balance, and I've been doing this, and it works for me. Now, will it work for you? I don't know. It depends on what do you want. But practices to forgive. What are the best practices? I struggle with this in some areas of my life, and I know to become more spiritual, humble, and reach higher vibrations, I have to learn to forgive. Whatever you can do to release the emotional attachment of an event or to a person is the right thing to do. Whatever you could do. I would simply suggest that you try taking the person or event that you need to forgive, write down all the stuff that happened that you can't forgive. Write down all the negative about it. And then on the other side of the paper, simply write down the good that came from it. And you keep writing good down until you've got them in balance. And you're going to say there's not good. There is good. You've got to step outside of your ego, and you've got to step and look at it from above. And when you do that, you will find as much good. And you'll know you found as much good when you can look at it and all of a sudden there's no emotional charge. It requires you doing the work by yourself. No one else can help you with forgiveness. You must do that. One of my highest values is learning. That's why I'm going to go spend 7 days with DeMartini later in April. So I can spend 14 hours a day immersed in learning more stuff that I can teach. But here's what I realize is that we come here and you hear me talk and you learn. You take classes and you learn. But the true way you progress is when you practice on your own. When you start implementing things in your life. When you start embodying the idea that I don't need someone else to do the work for me. I can do the work for myself. And that's a very, very bold, courageous, and difficult thing to do because it's not what we're taught. We're taught we need others. Well, you need others to support you. You have a whole community here. Half of them are still sleeping. But you key thing is, and we do testimonials. We have people come up on stage every couple weeks and talk about how they've used the principles. It works. The reason I keep doing what I'm doing is because I know it works, because I've seen people's lives change. We have a person in Connecticut. If you're watching, I'm grateful to you. Been listening for 7 months, practicing what we teach here, and immediately said, it's changed my life. Got another person in California listening for 2 years, wrote me about 3 weeks ago, said, you can't believe the difference it's made in my life. It saved my marriage. It saved me being a better mother. All these things simply because I began to practice. It's not about listening. Listening tells you, gives you ideas where to go. But what is it you're going to practice? So why don't we do some prayer work? So prayer work for us, it's not asking and beseeching a divine being, because we don't believe that there's a divine being. We believe there's a divine intelligence that permeates everything, that is everything. And so when I speak my words, I acknowledge I'm building a mental argument, I'm building a mental description in my mind, and I'm understanding there is one. It is infinite, it is all-knowing, it is everywhere present. It is right here. It is right now. It is all-powerful. It is all-knowing. It has created everything out of itself. And in that, I know that I am an individualization of it. And as I know that I am an individualization of it, I know that each person here is an individualization of it. So the divine wisdom, the divine power that created everything is right where I'm at and right where you are. And so what I claim and know that this divine wisdom within me, within you, lifts a level of awareness within each of us that allows us to embody the idea that we can make a change, that we can make a difference, that the power that exudes that we are seeking is right where we are. And I know that each person here is now guided and directed in this moment, step by step, on their journey of self-discovery to better understand the ability to accept and love themselves, and then to bring that love into the universe where we create a world that works for everyone. Seeing that and feeling that at all that I am, I embody it in a state of eternal gratitude. For I know it is in gratitude that I can anchor this prayer into the mind that is God and know that it is done. And knowing that it is done, together we affirm it and we say, and so it is.
I want to thank you for joining us today. I'm so grateful that you took your time to watch or listen to this message. If you found this message beneficial, I would ask that you go to our website, agapecsl.com. Once there, click on the donate button and experience the joy of conscious and purposeful giving. Or if you would like, text your gift by simply dialing 972-532-6976. It is through your gifts that we are able to bring this message to you in the world. I would ask that if you like this message, to please subscribe to my YouTube channel under my name, Lee Wolak. Again, I want to thank you for joining me in the Agape community as we learn how to better self-love through conscious living.